Hello and welcome into this week's edition of the ARCA Racing Series Rewind Show right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below and hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. On today's edition of the ARCA Rewind, we're looking back at last night's Kentuckiana Ford Dealers ARCA Fall Classic 200. From the Salem Speedway in Salem, Indiana. It was a throwback race. I love these kind of races. Lots of really cool throwbacks in this race. All the MDM cars, I believe, except for Zane Smith, had a throwback. Gus Dean had a Donnie Allison throwback. There was an Andy Hillenberg throwback that Ed Pompa was driving. Lots of cool cars in this race, bringing back lots of really cool memories. I love races like this. Now, before we get into anything, I want to apologize for this show getting out so late. It should have been out earlier today. Just trying to get all the interviews lined up. I was actually trying to get 3 interviews on tonight's show. We agreed with that we'd get a phone interview with Chandler for tonight's race instead of talking to him after the race last night. That didn't quite work out. He had some things that came up today, and he wasn't able to actually do the interview today, unfortunately. We're still going to try to get that with him, and when we eventually do, here in the next day or two, we will just put that up as a separate video, but unfortunately we don't have a winner interview tonight. We were also, I'm sure you've seen the controversy surrounding the Zane Smith, Michael Self incidents on the night. Was trying to get both of them on. To get both sides of that story. And we had Michael Self lined up, and then he had some things come up today as well. I haven't been able to get him just yet, and again, when we get him, that will go up as a separate video on its own. We did get Zane Smith on tonight, though, to talk about his point of view from the incidents last night, the 3 incidents between himself and Michael Self. So that will be coming up here in a little bit once we get through the results. We'll get to hear Zane Smith's thoughts on everything that transpired, the multiple incidents between himself and Michael Self. So that's coming up here in a couple of minutes once we get through the results. So we'll go ahead and get right into those. And Chandler Smith is your winner, his second career ARCA Racing Series victory, second of the season. Remember, he won back in Madison earlier this year. Has had so many dominating runs on the season. It's nice to see him finally picking up some wins. Led all 200 laps on Saturday night. An absolutely dominating performance by Chandler Smith. I don't know that anybody really would have been able to touch him. At different points, it looked like Zane Smith and Michael Self might be the only cars that could have run with him. But of course, they had their incidents, and that kind of relegated them to not being factors in this one. Gus Dean, though, comes home with a strong second-place finish. Chase Purdy in his Mark McFarland throwback to 2006 Junior Motorsports 88 Navy car comes home in the 3rd position. Sheldon Creed in his Cale Yarborough throwback comes home in the 4th position. And Travis Braden rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10, Harrison Burton running a throwback to his father, Jeff Burton, Jeff's first late model paint scheme, actually, so that was a really cool throwback for Harrison. Christian Eckes ran in the top 5 most of the night, then dropped way back on a late restart, and then found his way back into the 7th position, so a very up and down night for Christian Eckes. He came home in the 7th position. Natalie Decker, up and down night for her as well. She fell way off in the beginning of the race and fought her way back to an 8th place finish. Kudos to Natalie Decker for that. Riley Herbst and Will Kimmel rounded out your top 10. 11th through 20th, Joe Graff Jr. down here in the 11th position. He was 8 laps off the pace after catching the wall off of turn number 4 late in the race. Michael Self we see down here in the 16th position, and Zane Smith in 17th. They had their incidents on the night. We've talked a little bit about it. Zane sums it up pretty well in the interview coming up, but basically what happened was early in the race, it was about the halfway point, they come off of turn 4, and Michael Self spins off of Zane Smith. Zane got into the back of him off of turn number 4. Michael self-spun, didn't hit anything. Probably 20-30 laps later on a restart, Michael gets his payback in 1 and 2, and Zane ends up getting damage from this because he catches the wall. Goes back behind the wall to repair the car, comes back out about 20 laps later, and wrecks the 55. Both cars destroyed. Michael Self runs back into the garage. They have words. Michael Self has to be pulled away from Zane and the car, and it was just a very heated night. Saturday night short track tempers definitely on the rise. And then we see down here on the last page, 21st through 23rd, Alex Clubb, Con Nicolopoulos, and Eric Caudell. All right, so that's your results from the Kentuckiana Ford Dealers Fall Classic 200 from the Salem Speedway. And like I said, since we don't have a winner interview from Chandler Smith tonight, we're going to go ahead and show you what Zane Smith thought of the incidents on the night, his thoughts on everything that transpired in the night, and you can make your own decision on whether you agree with what Zane did, whether you disagree. So let's just roll that, and we'll see what Zane thought of all of that. And we're now joined by Zane Smith, driver number 41 Toyota for MDM Motorsports. We've got him here on the phone with us. Zane, how are you doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad. So a little bit of controversy last night in Salem between yourself and Michael Self. 3 separate incidents between the two of you, and then some words exchanged back in the garage area. So talk us through what happened from your point of view last night.
Yeah, so pretty much really early in the race, like, I don't know if anyone knows, but Salem is a big tire saving game there. And so usually there's about like 2 to 3 cars that'll go really hard, and you kind of just let them go and burn their stuff up. And we had seen that really early in the race, and I think I was in second, and the 55 was coming, and my spotter and he was letting me know that he's digging pretty hard. So my plan is just to let him go, fall back in line, and let him burn his stuff up. And getting into one, I pointed my hand out the window, and coming off the corner, he hit me like a pretty good amount, and down all the backstretch, he was hit me. And so he gets in front of me, and so the same amount that he hit me coming off the corner, I hit him getting into 3 and 4, and he looped it. And no contact with the fence, he just looped it. And I mean, when he hit me, I almost looped it as well, but I saved mine and he looped his. So that's where it all started. And then I think it was a restart. Everyone got stickers on, and we lined up third. And I got dumped coming off the corner, same spot he first got into me, and we nosed into the fence. And we're chasing the short track challenge championship and the whole championship as well with my teammates. And so I come down pit road, I know I can see that the nose is punched up, and it knocked a hole in the radiator, and so said that we're done, and we fixed it, went back out there, and got payback.
So, and then afterward in the garage, Michael came back to confront you. What exactly transpired in that exchange?
Well, when I was in the car, I was surrounded by everyone, and then I can't name names, but you should have heard the amount of people on the infield that said "Go wreck him." But so that was a pretty good build-up. That it wasn't just me thinking that. So I just wanted to mention that. But yeah, once he came over, I don't know, he tried grabbing me, and I grabbed him back, and then before I knew it, I mean, he was off me. So then I'm mostly pissed off because I'm chasing a championship, and that's all down the drain now, just because of you. And he said, well, you got to realize I'm not chasing a championship. But, I mean, so if he wants to think that way, I can think that way also. If he's just going for one, I'm going to ruin his one race because he ruined my whole year at one race. So, in the stupid incident. So, that's how, if he wants to look at it, that's how I'm going to look at it. And, I mean, he apologized to me and I apologized to him. So, and then honestly, there's Billy Venerati and Kevin Reed who can't control their emotions and everything. And they're all talking how I'm going to get a Hans check in the next two races. And I mean, literally, they're all talking, and that's why they're where they are. So, I mean, instead of talking, just do it, in my opinion.
All right. Well, Zane, thanks for coming on tonight and sharing your side of this with us. I'm sure everyone appreciates getting your side of this as well on this whole incident.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So that was Zane Smith's thoughts on everything that occurred between himself and Michael Self on Saturday night. Make your own decision on that. Do you agree with him? Do you disagree? Like I said, we're still trying to get Michael Self on to get his side of things. That probably will go up in the next day or two. Probably what will happen is I'll put both of them together in the same video, so you get both sides of the coin in one take. So once we do get Michael Self's thoughts, we will get that up here, hopefully in the next day or two. So let's look at your point standings following the Kentuckiana Ford Dealers Fall Classic 200, now with 2 races remaining in the 2018 ARCA season. IRP coming up on October 6th and Kansas on October 19th. Sheldon Creed now leads Zane Smith by 300 points after Zane Smith's issues on the night. 300 points is a lot to make up in 2 races. I don't think Zane is mathematically out of it at this point, but I think realistically 300 points is not going to happen in 2 races. So we'll see what happens going forward, but I think it's going to be very hard going forward now. If it wasn't hard already, it's going to be even harder for Zane at this point to catch his teammate Sheldon Creed. Chase Purdy has moved up a spot this week. He has moved above Travis Braden by 5 points into that 4th position in the points. They are still having a really good battle there for that 4th position. And then we still have a 40-point gap down here between Gus Dean and Natalie Decker for the 6th position. Gus extended that lead on Natalie just a little bit this week after his 2nd place finish. Natalie still, though, trying to get back up into that 6th position before the end of the season. And with Brett Holmes being out again this week, that has moved Brad Smith up into the 9th position in points. So that's your point standings following the Kentuckiana Ford Dealers Fall Classic 200 from Salem. And I think that'll do it for us tonight here on the ARCA Rewind show. So keep an eye out here over the next couple days for a winner interview with Chandler Smith once we get that set up. And then hopefully we'll get Michael Self on as well to get his thoughts from Saturday night. Just need to get their schedules to line up. Like I said, they had things come up today that I think were out of their control. So we'll just we'll work with their schedule and hopefully be able to get them on here in the next couple of days. We had 3 Rewind shows already go up this weekend. We had a Cup Rewind for Vegas go up a little bit ago, an Xfinity Rewind that went up this morning, and then, of course, a Truck Rewind that went up on Friday night. And then, of course, Pole Position coming up tomorrow night, Monday night, 8 p.m. at the normal time this week to recap a lot of stuff. All 3 NASCAR series, ARCA, IndyCar, and Formula One all in action this week. So we've got a lot to cover this week on the Pole Position. So that, like I said, will be coming up tomorrow night, and hopefully a couple of interviews tomorrow as well. So we'll see what happens with that. If you're not subscribed already, you need to go down below, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss any of that going forward. Probably won't announce it anywhere that those videos have gone up. They'll go up, and if you're subscribed, you will see that they showed up. So that's basically what you got to do if you want to see these things, you got to subscribe to the channel and ring that bell. That way you get the notifications and you know what is coming out. And if you like this video, hit that big thumbs up button. It's much appreciated when you do. So with that, this has been the ARCA Racing Series Rewind Show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.